Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting edition of Transformers Reviews. As you guys can see to my left, or I think that's how it'll appear on screen, is none other than Cameron Hoppus, Steel Raven 21, back from the Gigawatt Review to here help us review something in particular today. Cameron, what exactly are we doing?
Oh, they know just by the theme song now. I think all of you know recognize that theme song. That is, of course, the theme to the animated series X-Men, which was out in the 90s. Very, very popular series. And I gotta make note of this, that on the camera on Kellen's end, you could probably see this. It's probably easy to spot, but since Kellen's got a virtual background, Wolverine's claws are the virtual background too, which makes even better. So,
So yes,
but
it is
you
it
know,
is the X Mansion. So
right. We thought
anyway,
for this review
because
it'd be
we
fitting.
are in particular reviewing, God, this is such a stupid. Okay, Gigawatt made sense, but this is Ultimate X-Spanse. That is a lame name for a robot. Okay,
Yeah.
like I don't know. I don't even know. Blundercracker would have been even more appropriate. Okay, so anyway, but what we're gonna do is basically because I've only transformed this to robot mode and back to jet mode once, and some of the parts are very thin and very iffy. And if you guys have had the Studio Series Jetfire, a lot of the parts are reused on this guy right here. So what we did was is we're gonna actually be referring to some studio pics that I took earlier. And they're actually going to be showing a variety of situations. That way you guys aren't having to watch me fumble around with a robot that I've only messed with twice. Now
Yeah.
what
I mean, save some time, right?
exactly. So one thing that you guys will notice real quick before we get into the pictures is that just like the actual bluebird from the Blackbird, which is weird. It's called the Blackbird, yet it's blue. I don't anyway, but it actually does have the actual legit X-Men logo on it, which is kind of cool.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, that is a nice touch. It's like how they had the flux capacitor detail on Gigawatt throughout the figuring. It was kind of cool.
So
So
anyway, Cameron, if you will not mind, sir, could we go ahead and start looking at some of the other pictures real quick?
yeah, so here we go. Let's get it. I'll share my screen here so we can get a good view of this thing in its current mode, being jet mode.
Or I tell you what, instead, do you have the ones of what comes with Expanse real
Yes.
quick?
Yep. Start with this guy right here.
Oh man, yeah, and I mean you can tell that these guys are not highly detailed. If you go to the one of Wolverine, I mean that says it all right there. I mean, as far as like not only just paint but sculpting, it's nothing like what's actually on the box. Sabretooth is not much better.
No. It looks it does it, I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say it that there's not any detail to these action figures, because there really is detail to them. I mean, they've really drawn out their muscles and things like that and the hair, but I mean,
Like
they
if you go to
do
the
kind of look like a blob though.
yeah, if you go to the next one of see, we just saw the Wolverine figure and it is not sculpted like this at all. Like it doesn't even
No.
look like that.
No.
Now, it does come with that energy effect that you see around Wolverine, but it really doesn't make any sense around him. I don't get it, so it's like
Yeah.
whatever. But
And of
anyway,
course,
okay, so this is a little bit interesting because like I said, it has a lot of the parts from Studio Series Jetfire, but it's not exactly like a remold or anything. And this is the way that Jetfire had his like pieces of his jet mode. And so I didn't really care for it to look like that. I thought, well, that I don't really like that look for Expanse. It looks kind of stupid. So I
yeah.
think in the next picture, one of the plethora of different ways that you can look at it, there we go,
There we
is
go.
you see it's kind of flipped over a little bit and it looks more like shoulder, like pauldrons, I guess is what I was kind of going for on that. But what I love about this is, and we'll see it later on when we get to other pictures, but I love how the visor can actually just flip up and like it like shows his robot mode face. Ah, there he is. Okay, so another one of the energy effects that he comes with is, even though his robot mode is more styled on Cyclops from the animated series, he does have the energy effect that plugs in that gives him the Wolverine-esque claws, which I am just, that is so awesome.
I have to say that is pretty cool. The fact that they added that, because I mean, being the fact that it's molded, pretty much as you said, like Cyclops, and I think that's why they did it as an energy, since Cyclops, has that ability to shoot energy laser through his visor. So I think that's what they were probably shooting for, was a way for him to have kind of like an energy type of Wolverine blades or whatever, which makes it really, really cool in my book as well. I really did appreciate that about it. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, could we zoom in on these a little bit?
yeah,
Okay, so this
so
is
there's
there is the other effect that plugs into his, as if you go up on the wrist camera, yeah, you can see it plugs into like a cannon that just is sitting on top of his hand. But I thought that, what that looks like more to me looks like, and Transformers fans will realize if they watch the Transformers Siege War for Cybertron series, the Jetfire, or was it Sky? The Jetfire from that series had a blade that came out from his hand, and like it was
I'll go ahead
more
and
like the
zoom in
one
on
we were
that too.
just, huh?
I said I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on that too, just so you can get a better look at the claws or whatever.
Yeah, and the one we were looking at before, that's the one I was referencing, like the Jetfire from Siege. He had a blade, so that's kind of what it reminds me of. But yeah, you can see the claw detail. The camera, when I took the picture, it kind of blurred it out. But the detailing on that claw is actually pretty legit. And for this figure, I kind of wish that they had two of those. Like if you wanted to do like the actual legit Wolverine thing, but it only does come with one energy effect shaped like the claws.
Yeah, well, that's going to be typical of what they do, because they want to have multiple settings and types of things that you could put inside their those holes or whatever that they have for them. So, but
Alrighty. And then there's, okay. So this picture right here, I don't know why the camera messed up as bad as it does, but with the other traditional siege effects, like I said, you can use those ones that came with it, or if you want to use other ones, that you've received in the Siege, War, Earthrise, or Kingdom line, he is compatible with those blast effects. Well, as you can see, he's blasting double dealer right here, So
right,
I really like how that looks. Just, I mean, altogether.
I think it looks pretty awesome myself. I mean, and we're kind of getting to see the which we've already been seeing, but we're getting more definitive details with the figurine mode of robot mode with X-Jet or whatever. That's what I'm going to call it, X-Jet, because I think it sounds better.
Yeah.
But
And then if I guess let's see what the next one is. Okay, so this is just more of the pole driven look, like we were talking about with those little pieces. So it's not just kind of like before, as you saw with the one on the jet, like it was like floating back here, like by his head, and this has actually moved it down onto his shoulder. So I know it's just kind of like a small nitpicky thing, but like my friend, he was saying that, and you can actually, as we'll see in other pictures, if you want them to be like the Starscream shoulder, sort of things, you'll see that in later pictures. You can actually do that too.
perfect.
Like that. There we go. That's exactly what I was talking about. So, and like, it's really weird because his wings are not like ultra magnificent because they're just really skinny and stuff like that. But it does give him just a little bit of something. And so like here, we can really start to see, because in the X-Men's animated series, Cyclops had the X across his chest with the strap and had the deal in the center. And then he had the belt, and he even had like if you can see down there on his thighs, he had like the yellow straps down there. So it's clearly more based on him than anyone else, which, I mean, I guess, that would make sense.
Right. That would totally make sense. And you know, the first few pictures I saw the face, it looked like he was smiling in the first few pictures. And you guys, if you go back and you look at that, you can see that yourself, that it looks like he's smiling. But when I'm looking at it right here, dead on, it totally looks like he's not smiling. Like it almost looks like he's frowning. I don't know.
I like what's weird is he can get this hand on the hips pose, but
Yeah.
if you ever try, like when the visor's down, I was hoping, because his hand's kind of shaped like this, and I
Mhm.
was hoping that you could bring it up, because like in the, in the X-Men series, like Cyclops would do that to activate his visor, but
Right.
his hands don't reach there. Like it gets real
Oh,
close to the head, but the way that the arms are structured, it can't do that. I was like, oh, the one thing.
yeah. Well, you know, they don't ever, you know, make it perfect. So I mean, sometimes they sacrifice something. So
Ooh, here he is facing off against old Megs. Cameron, what do you think of that picture?
I think that's a really sweet picture because you got old Megatron with his old ball spike or whatever you call that,
Oh, his Energon Mace.
his Energon mace, and then you got, you know, X Jet here with his Energizer claws. And to be quite honest, I think he'd be able to he'd probably be able to take that thing off. He'd probably cut that mace off of him and then stab him right to the chest. But that's just me.
Well, they're
That's
both,
just
if they're
fantasy.
both made of Energon, then you know.
Well, that's true.
But I would love to see a cartoon of this sequence right here. Just
Yeah.
G1 Megatron with his Energon Mace, and then X Transverse or whatever the heck they're calling this dude, just going at it. That'd be awesome.
Oh man, that'd make a heck of a cartoon. Do a Transformers X-Men crossover.
Yeah.
Oh heck yeah.
Okay, so here
Oh
he's got his blade, and he's got Starscream on the ground, because of course Starscream's a wimp.
yeah. Let's say if you zoom in, you can look at this really good. Like this image of he's got his foot on his chest. So yeah, he's like, "Don't tempt me, boy."
And for people that know the size of Starscream, look at how big his foot is compared where it is stepping on Starscream. That foot is huge, so that should give you. I mean, this image itself, but just that one little part of it also should tell you how big this guy is.
Yeah, he looks really big in comparison. Even like, I mean, I know he's kind of laying down in this picture, but and I know that you've got a couple of images of them side by side,
Well,
and
if
X-Jet's significantly bigger than him.
there you go, there's a comparison, because see, Siege Jetfire is a commander class, and this is like somewhere in between Voyager and commander class.
Right.
But even
Yeah.
whenever he was in that picture of him facing off against Megatron, you could see how big he was. He was kind of like in an action pose. But I mean, Starscream and Megatron are about the same size in robot mode. But I really like that he's not as big as Jetfire, but I also do like the fact that he's bigger than Starscream.
Yeah. I think he's just the right size for the action figure he is. I think he's perfect. He's not too big. He's not too small. I think he's just right. So I like that. So, oh, and there we go. There we go. Now we've got him, of course, having a conversation with old Optimus.
Yeah.
Wonder what they could be talking about.
I tried to get a picture of them like shaking hands, but it just didn't quite work. So it's kind of like
It's
kind of
close.
like they're about to.
It,
But
it, it does if like I said, it almost is like they're having a conversation.
then
So
you know what? I'm not gonna lie, Cam. That's probably one of my favorite pictures that I took. I like how that looks.
yeah, I think it looks good. I think it's a really good look for the Transformers. So I like that one myself too.
Hit. Okay, so what I was gonna say is, before we talk about this one, is the one of
Okay, I'll go
him,
back.
and then the one of him and Megatron. Like he looks good. Pardon me. He looks good with both leader figures, which is, I mean, maybe that's a credit to him.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
anyway.
All right, now I guess we can move forward. Uh-oh. Gigawatt.
Yep. So that's more for just for you guys to see how he looks with Gigawatt and with a other blue jet. You know,
Yeah.
so Thundercracker is roughly about 2/3 the size of the X Jet, which I think that maybe a little bit out of scale, but it's fine. I mean, you know, it's whatever. It's not a big deal. Gigawatt definitely is out of scale. So like if you're going to put these two together, it's going to totally, you know, knacker that entire scale, but unless you put them together in robot mode.
Yep. So, and then of course you get the two what did you say, Thunderbolt together with yeah.
Well, yeah, Thundercracker and
Thundercracker, whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know these names sometimes, sorry.
that's all right. But anyway, yeah, so I mean, like I just thought, well, that's kind of a cool shot, even though they don't look like they belong together. Just to kind of see how he stacks up. Because we showed him in robot mode off against Starscream, but this is a blue Decepticon squaring off against a I don't know if the X Jet is like neutrally aligned or if it's one of the good. I don't know how how that all works.
That's a good question. I mean, he's got the red visor, and usually red is an indication of Decepticon, but I don't know. I don't know. And of course, there's another good shot of the X-Jet with Gigawatt, which I think it's cool putting the two together because these are like the two special crossovers that they've done recently with Transformers and other pop culture. So it's kind of cool to see the two of them together, and it would be kind of cool to see like a cartoon based on these two together. Would be kind of a cool thing, cool concept. I'm just saying, that's just the nerd inside me wants to see that, but whether that'll ever happen,
you know who would have been perfect.
But
we
I do
already
like
said
that. Not gonna lie.
We already said that he was trash.
And of course, there is another good shot of the X-Jet from the side. I think it looks beautiful from the side there.
Well, you know what would have been good to have with well, that's weird. All I can see is Gigawatt still. Oh, are we having technical difficulties?
Oh, he's back on. Yeah, I was gonna say I thought we lost you there for a second. I was about to set you back, but you're back. Something happened. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. The last I heard, we were talking about Gigawatt and stuff. So, and I guess you weren't hearing me. What I was gonna say was that in that picture that we had up of him and Gigawatt, a third one that would have been good to see as far as like crossovers go is actually that would have been Maverick. Now I know we said that he was trash, and I mean in robot mode, yes, but we already said that Maverick's jet mode was perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would have been cool to have those three, but like I said, these are the only two I've got, and I didn't do the Ghostbusters one because I don't like that sort of stuff. So out of the four, the two of these are really good.
Yeah, it looks good. It does. And I think the camera was video recording me too earlier when I was talking about this guy right here and the look of it. Because and if I'm repeating myself, I apologize for that. But as far as like this goes versus the movie adaptation, because I know everybody remembers when they did the first X-Men, and the first time you see the X-Jet or whatever they call it in the movie, it's really actually pretty accurate to the way it looked in the series, except I think in the movie it was a little slight narrower, like it wasn't as long, it was a lot shorter.
Yeah, I mean it was more like a legit Blackbird. I think probably the cockpit was like about here, on the other one. So, but I mean the thing is it's got landing gear, so and it kind of needs it in jet mode because of the chest and stuff that you saw in robot mode. It kind of like tips to one side or the other, so the landing gear allows it to actually stay horizontally level.
Right. So, and then there's a frontal view of it, which is a really good view too.
That cockpit is just so iconic, and here you can kind of see the landing gears up, so it is at, like I said, it's kind of cocked at an angle, but I mean still it looks like it's in like a swooping pose. Now one thing I do want to go ahead and mention that this figure is notorious for, and it's been doing pretty good, is that a lot of times some people will have trouble with the wings and stuff. So this little hinge and stuff, it's the way it's shaped and stuff, it's not structurally strong. So it does have a tendency on some people to do that.
Yeah.
But if you get it cocked just about right, it is drooping just a little bit for both ones. But at least it's not, just hanging down there like that, which would be a total drag.
Yeah, of course. So, so giving it maybe like a 1 out of 5 stars, like how many stars do you think you give this figure?
I mean, some of the joy gets a little bit zapped because of, again, the finicky panels and the wings doing their thing, so that does sap a little bit of joy out of it, especially during transformation, because this is probably the most tenuous part, especially going back to jet mode. So probably I would say, I hate to say this, but it's probably a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because the robot mode is not super strong either. It's a little bit, I don't know. I get what they were going for. And I mean, there's only so much you can do coming out of this as an alt mode, but it's not, I love what it's trying to be, but in final execution, without blabbering on, 5 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I gave it, out of a 1 out of 5 earlier, I think I gave it a 4.5, and I only give it that, like, I mean, all the points that you told me off camera that you're just now telling the viewers, that's why I wouldn't give it a 5 out of 5. If it's as hard as you say it is to try to put it back into robot mode, that's the only issue. It's like,
Well,
it looks great, but other than that,
going to robot mode is the easier part. It's like I said, I don't know if the camera can pick that up or not, but you can see that there's a little bit of a wear place right there, and that the reason is because we saw in the pictures, this forms the legs. So when you do that, there's like the skeletal part of the leg, and these panels split apart and they flip 180, and then you kind of just slot them back in. And when you're going back to jet mode, because they're so thin, it's a less than pleasurable experience, because you have to be super careful. And that's another reason that, like you said at the beginning, that's why we didn't do a transformation on screen, is because this would have been like a half-hour video, and ain't nobody got time for that.
No, and you would hate to break your transformer that you just got, to have it break on camera would be the ultimate thing to happen, and it would probably end up in an ultimate fails compilation, where, because I know you and I's reactions would be like,
well, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, do I regret buying X-Spanse? No. He's a good figure. As you saw in those pictures, he looks good with some of the more modern robots that we have. So anyway, but other than that, Cam, anything else you have to say about X-Spanse?
I think you covered it pretty nicely. The only other thing that I could say is bring it on. Keep making more crossover ones, because I want to see what you guys can do, and if one of these days, if you guys are able to do something like a Doctor Who crossover where like a robot can transform into the TARDIS, I mean, I'd love to see something like that. I mean,
what about Kit from Knight Rider?
See, Kit from Knight Rider, of course. If you could get one to do like a Kit from Knight Rider, here's an even bigger challenge for you. If you can get one that could transform into the Flintstones mobile and actually look cool as a robot, if you could do something like that, pull that off, then I would put much respect.
I don't know if a lot of people would be down for the Flintstones, but
it would just be, for me, I wouldn't necessarily
oh, this is Cameron's personal wish list.
Well, and I say that because, like I said, it's a challenge for them, because how can you make a transformer look like the Flintstones mobile and then make it cool at the same time as a robot? So,
well,
I don't know.
Hanna-Barbera didn't own that, they probably could have done one with the Jetsons more easily, but
yeah.
You know
Maybe
what?
it's just wishful thinking, I guess, on my part.
You know what they're,
Thinking dream.
you know what they're you know what they're like making all these bangers on is based on 80s property. The
That's
only,
true.
the only one that's a difference is this, because like we said, this is a cartoon from the 90s.
Yeah.
So it's stepping out of that 80s boundary, which I mean, right now, everybody, you know, we've come to the cycle where everybody's fascinated. We've moved beyond the 80s fascination. Now, like everybody's fascinated with the 90s,
Right.
you know. And I mean, in Beast, like in Transformers in general, what's the big thing right now? Beast Wars, the 90s
Yep.
version of Transformers, you know, which anyway, speaking of that, just a subtle plug, if you guys have not seen it already, please check out the Air Razor review. That was the last video that we uploaded on this channel. So please do check that out. But other than that, just to avoid dragging this out, I don't really have anything else to add. I know you were kind of talking about what you wanted. So what else you got, Cam?
I think that's it, man. I can't think of anything else in regards to that Transformer that you know, it's been covered very well. I'm like you, I don't want to drag this out any longer than it has to be. I don't want to be rambling. So I
Well,
think we
guys,
covered it very nice.
this is less like our traditional review and more like you guys just kind of hanging out with us. That's what this is more like. So anyway, guys, until next time, we will see you in another review.
Indeed.